Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm feeling very, very childlike already. I hope Ben's here because Forrest Valkai is actually with me now. At least he will be when Callum presses the button. Good evening, Forrest.
What an introduction. You didn't even...
I didn't understand the super chat you have on the screen there until you said it.
So I'm glad you've at least chuckled at it because Callum was like, no, he's not going to understand. He won't get it.
I understand entirely. It's like a Glaswegian saying "purple burglar alarm." It was beautiful. I loved it.
But Forrest Vach is actually a district about, I don't want to say too accurate.
Yeah, it's near where we're from.
Within a 10-mile radius of where I live, there's a place. I was actually born there, and the place is called Forrest Vach. And Ben
Forrest
said when we were talking, we were on stream one night, and I'll reach out to Forrest Valkai. He came on, we had a chat before, it was great fun, and we were talking about Forrest Valkai, and eventually Ben, who lives just down the road, said, "Who's this Forrest Valkai?"
I will absolutely have to come visit someday. That sounds amazing.
Then of the sign to the Forrest Vach shopping centre with your face on it, and I'll have to see if I can still find them. Anyway, now that I've completely confused you and made you regret agreeing to come on. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm having an amazing day. I'm happy to be here again. It's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
I just got really good memories of our last conversation, and I don't know if I said that wrong, didn't I? Our last conversation and how much I enjoyed it. And I'm not saying that to blow smoke up your nose, you know. It's just I know what I enjoy, and your content happens to be part of it. So I will not apologize for going slightly fanboy. And before we go any further on, Callum was so excited that you were coming on as a guest.
That's what I was about to say is, I know, little man crush. I remember back, what year was it the last time you came on? I don't remember.
Maybe
a while ago.
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
Something like that.
And,
yeah.
And I remember at the time seeing the thumbnail for it. It popped up on my phone. I was like, shut up about you. And I was like, you got Forrest Valkai. I've followed you on TikTok for like 4 or 5 years. So it was like so weird. And I was like, that was probably the first thing he did that made me go, oh, all right, Mr. YouTuber.
He got me started. It was because I was just starting out on YouTube at the time. I don't even remember how many subs I had, but I remember like I was stoked because I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's gonna give me a put on my." And you helped me start my channel out. You gave me boosts. You brought me a bunch of strange people from Wales who are now very excited about science. There was a phenomenal collab then. I think this will be the same thing. I'm really excited to be back. Seriously, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to be stupid on your channel. Thank you very much for having me here.
Well, everybody's so used to me being stupid on my channel. It's nice to have a
spread it around.
Stupid person, because just because you like to be stupid, it doesn't mean you're not smart. That's what I keep telling myself.
Exactly. It's the only way I can get to sleep at night. It fights the imposter syndrome. You know what I mean? Like, all right, so I know that I was dumber than usual today, but I can still do some science somewhere.
So you feel that imposter syndrome just as much as the next person then?
Every day, all the time, forever, absolutely. And the more science I learn, the worse it is, because I know more about what I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely, all the time, forever. And I'm so happy for it, because like, as much as it sucks and as much as it makes you, stare up at night and feel like crap, and I'll say, at least I'm not an asshole. I could be incredibly full of myself and be very sure that I knew everything about everything, and then I would be no good to anybody.
Yeah.
Well, I could probably get a good job as a right-wing grifter then if I wanted to. If I was that sure of myself, I could start a shitty podcast where I just said that women don't exist and culture is wrong, and it'd be great. I could make $1 million.
You'd be a multi-millionaire within a week.
Exactly. If I was evil, I could start a church and get into the manosphere. It'd be over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've actually started the Church of Tideology. We've got God, obviously, Son of God, and we've got a Pope, we've got an Archbishop. What else have we got?
We had the Holy
The
Ghost.
Holy Ghost,
Because
You just
he's old.
because he's old. We've got
That's
some
fantastic.
interesting characters, and we're hoping to get so big that eventually channels like you, as you'll be debunking the Church of Tideology, trying to prove I
I
don't.
can't wait.
Our goal is
can't wait.
tax exemption.
Yeah, we're working towards full tax exempt status.
Yeah.
The American dream. Yes.
It's the Welsh dream as well, Forrest. You can't keep it for yourselves. Let me
That's
just quickly
great.
address this super chat. Pay my ad revenue directly to the man so I can avoid YouTube ad nuisance. Thank you
Hell
very
yeah.
much. And the Snark has gifted a channel membership, which they get given out at random. Anyway,
Righteous.
I want to talk to Forrest about interesting stuff, not the
Oh.
side chat. No offense. But
You hear that? You
I-
hear that? You hear what he thinks of you.
yeah, I can hear people leaving. They're all going. Oh, and just quickly as well, I'm hoping Padjo Lee is still here. Nice to see you back, pal. So I don't know if you've seen any issues on your channel, Forrest, and I'll be very quick with this. But my live streams used to be sort of 300, 400, 500 people watching, and now, I'm looking, we've just broken 100 viewers, which is weird for a channel with 110,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be one of them guys, but the math doesn't quite maths, as we say
it
in the
happens.
UK.
They mix up the algorithms. It doesn't. I don't do live streams on my own channel, and so I don't I have no thing. I know TikTok has that problem a lot.
Really?
I've got 1.5 million on TikTok, and I'm lucky if I get a video that breaks 100K. And it's like,
Is
wow.
it? Yeah.
It sucks.
And that TikTok is a good example, because I cannot remember the last time I saw one of your videos, and I know I don't know, is it called subscribe or follow on TikTok? But I know
It doesn't matter.
I've tickled the buttons. It's weird though, isn't it? You know, it's the same thing. And I was having a conversation with somebody at YouTube last week, and I was trying to explain to them that your solution, make a video asking people to start watching again and turn on notifications, is genius. If you can promise me that you'll send that notification out to a bare minimum of the 110,000 odd people who've taken the time to subscribe, but how does that work? Make a video saying, why aren't you watching my videos?
Right. It sucks because first of all, I didn't know that you were on TikTok. We're friends now. Also, it's what bothers me about it is like, it's just, there's something that I remember distinctly before I started as a professional content creator. You know, I all those videos of people complaining that they're not getting the views that they want. Oh my God, they suck, because like I remember this, someone's like, I only got like 10,000 views. I'm like, 10,000 views sounds amazing. What are you talking about? And it just sounds whiny, and it sounds self-important. And it's like, it's the same reason, like, I very rarely do any like channel milestone things like, oh, we crossed so many followers. It feels like I'm patting myself on the back too hard. And so like, I don't know what the strategy is. It's just like, for me, my strategy was to not do TikTok too much anymore. I just put out stuff on YouTube, and like I'm starting now to get back into TikTok, and I'm trying to do like one TikTok a week. I used to do one a day, and then I did like one a month for a while, and now I'm trying to do like 4 TikToks a month, and then I'll be good. And I'm having a hard time even committing to that, because it's like a 60-second to 3-minute video. It's a task to slog out of it. You know, it just sucks.
Do you know, I'm strange going off platform. I don't really every time I upload something to TikTok, I feel like I'm cheating on YouTube. Like I'm doing something that they wouldn't like if they found out, and I'd be in trouble. I'm strange with loyalty, I guess.
Yeah, I think, well, everything you upload to TikTok is repurposed from YouTube.
Yeah, stolen by Callum. Usually.
Yeah, basically, I'll just grab
Yeah.
some clips and
Yeah.
turn them short form.
Yeah, I've just never been able to get any traction on there. Anyway, enough tangents. It's already 7:10, and we've said hello. We've introduced everyone. Everybody knows what they're doing and what they've got to do. So I've got this question, Forrest. Right, I mentioned it briefly to give you at least a little bit of a heads up. So
Yeah.
we just quickly explain it to the viewers. So when I'll use Kent Hovind as an example because people like it when I respond to Kent Hovind's videos.
Yeah.
When Kent Hovind makes a claim,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, I know instantly that he's wrong and why he's wrong. But there's the odd thing here and there that he'll say, and I'm like, I actually don't think I've heard him say that before. And I've never kind of heard of it. So then I look it up. Right. So that's the right answer. That I can see. Yeah, I can see that Kent was just manipulating the words, and then I make my video. But when Kent Hovind, for example, or Ken Ham, or Ray Comfort, you can pick any of them. When they make claims about the age of the Earth being that's 6,000. I've heard some say up as far as 10,000, but in that sort of sub 10,000 years maximum, according to young Earth creationists. How much does that kind of, so as somebody who kind of understands that topic intimately, how much does it sort of sting to hear somebody, because basically everything Kent Hovind says by sort of default says that you were a liar.
Oh yeah. And with Kent Hovind specifically, he'll just outright say that, and also be very inconsistent with his rules on like how, because he is also a professional liar, and so like in order to call anybody else a liar, he has to like invent reasons to be angry with them all the time. It's interesting. But like that's when it comes to like talking about science and all this. Whenever I hear, the Ken Hams and the Eric Hovinds and the Kent Hovinds and the Matt Powells and everybody of the world talk about this stuff, it's weird because I guess the hardest thing is sometimes it's difficult to know where to start, because they'll say something that's so abysmally stupid that there's like this, I have a 45-minute lecture on everything leading up to why this one thing was stupid. And I know I can't put that in a video, So I've got to figure out like, now, how do I even begin processing how to talk about why what you just said makes no sense? And that's an overwhelming feeling. And then when you add it on top of somebody, you use Kent as an example, but like Kent is a grifter. His whole business model at this point in his career is to desperately try to remain relevant, to do anything that he can to get the attention of people who actually fucking matter, so that he can prop up the facade in his head that people take him half as seriously as they did 30 years ago. And when you add that, like that spice on top of this whole thing, it just kind of becomes, it goes from like obnoxious to aggravating to sad back around to obnoxious again. And you get into this loop where it's like, okay, that's really, really stupid, and I'm frustrated that I have to talk about it at all, to now this kind of like anger and motivation and this fetid kind of like just recalcitrance that you're like, I want so bad to tell everybody why you're an asshole, and I'm going to dedicate time to it, to then like, oh, this is actually just remarkably depressing that this is all you have, and that after gosh knows how many years you still have no updated arguments. You Answers in Genesis of all people had to come out and say, hey, don't listen to this fucking guy because he hasn't updated anything for the past half decade or half a century, and he doesn't know what's going on. And like, we even realize these arguments suck, and like our science has moved on from this. And all of this stupidity is spewing out of the mouth of this fucking lonely, negligent, wife-beating racist who does nothing going for him at all. And you're just like, I just feel at this point that I'm it's more than kicking a dead horse. It's
Yeah.
fucking a rotting horse. And
Yeah.
I just don't want to be participating. And then you get fucking annoyed again. You're like, well, why the fuck do I have to deal with this in the first place then? If this is the best that creationism has to offer, you know what I mean? If this is who people are turning to, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
That somebody is going to look at this and be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I think that literally all of science is wrong because this guy said so. And it's like, come on.
Yeah.
So all of this you just get in this loop of bleh. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I'll respond to Answers in Genesis frequently. I've done a few videos about Eric Hovind recently because he made these terrible movies, but like I don't have much else to say about the guy past that. Answers in Genesis is at least funny. And they keep putting out funny stuff, and so I'll keep responding to that. The John and Jane series, like those guys are funny. And it's kind of sad because they're kids, but like, holy crap, it's so sterilized and so churchy. It makes it hysterical again. I guess that's the biggest thing is the thing that gets me out of that loop, because there's the initial burst of like, here's everything I want to talk about and I don't even know where to begin. And then you get in the sad loop. And then the only thing that pushes you past that to the point where I'm actually going to make content is if it's funny enough. Right now I'm working on a video at this moment about Ray Comfort, who I would never talk about because everybody knows what a liar he is. Everybody knows. Anybody who's ever even heard of Ray Comfort knows his whole shtick is to manipulate other people's footage or his own footage to make it sound like people say something they don't. And you have a clip of a scientist saying science is useless without good context, and Ray Comfort clips off the end to say science is useless. And he does the same thing that Answers in Genesis does, only 10 times more shamelessly. And now I also think he's working with Turning Point USA as well. So, you know, get all the way fucked. But he made a really funny video about me. And so like that, it's if it was just about me, who cares? Kent Hovind's done like fucking 30 videos about me. And there's a million other ministries that do videos about me. They're not funny, but the Ray Comfort video is really funny. And so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Ray Comfort's whole shtick seems to me, but this is specific to his, you know, his street. Not I don't know what he calls it, but
the anti-street epistemology kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got this kind of script where he gets you to say that you're a lying, blaspheming, something. But to me, as soon as he asked me that first question, I'd know exactly where he was going with it. So how dumb are the people he picks? How many? So let me slightly rephrase that. Not just how dumb are the people, but how many people does he have to use that well-rehearsed script on in a day to film enough footage to be able to put a video together that makes it look like he's right and they are wrong in every interaction throughout that day? It must be exhausting.
It's why so many of his videos are all at like college campuses and out on like the beach where people aren't trying to be in a like serious philosophical debate at this moment. They're just there to have fun with their kids. And it's the same like business model as like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and all these other, you know, just absolute pseudo-intellectual grifters that go after children and unsuspecting people. And whenever they have a serious conversation with somebody who knows what they're talking about, or even a young person who knows what they're talking about, they fall apart. And they have to rely on with you know, Ray Comfort specifically, he has to rely on that fraudulent editing and that kind of underhanded bullshit in order to trick people into believing that he won in a conversation where he almost certainly tricked somebody into believing that he won.
So his delusion is kind of where Kent Hovind's is then, because if Kent is to be believed, he has never lost a debate.
But Kent says that he's never lost a debate against people that he hasn't debated. In one of his videos about me, he's reacting to a video of me and Seth Andrews, and he's like, "You remember when I beat you in that debate, Seth?" Seth's never talked to the guy ever, but he's just up here bragging about a debate that he never had because that's all he has. And by the way, you mentioned we were talking about all these people. Matt Powell was one of the names that came out of my face. The last time I was on your show, Matt Powell came into the chat and challenged me to a debate publicly.
Yes, he did.
I remember you posted a clip about it. I posted clips about it. And to his credit, he did email me. after
Oh,
that,
he did?
and tried to follow up on it. And I forgot what the topic was. He wanted to debate dinosaurs or something like that. And I said, absolutely, no problem. I think I proposed a more broad debate topic, if I remember. I
Yeah.
think I said, like, let's talk about evolution. I don't know. But I said the one condition is, if we're going to do this, is that we both have to publish the full thing unedited on both of our channels.
Yeah.
Because I know that you have a history of editing your debates to make it look like you won, to cut out everything smart that your opponent says. So if we're going to do this, my one condition, happy to do it, we have to publish the full thing on both of our channels unedited. And he never wrote to me again. Disappeared.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So like that's how it is with all of these people.
Yeah, because I've responded to a lot of Matt Powell's content myself, and I can just kind of see the bits that he learned from Ken. They're so kind of they're just regurgitating. So Matt regurgitates Kent being wrong, but Kent is regurgitating a guy whose name I always forget.
Yeah. I should
did make one of my mini documentaries about it, which is on the channel.
Was it Peter Popoff?
No, not Peter Popoff. Oh, I can't remember the old guy. The one you said looked like
Hitler's mate.
Hitler's mate. Yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't either. Somebody in the chat, please remember for me. You know, I always forget things. Just quickly before we move on, there's a few super chats come in, so I'll address them quickly as we move forward. Two of my favorite creators. Time for a coffee. I could do with a coffee and a blanket for my ankles. It's bloody freezing in this studio tonight. I don't know what's going on.
That's age, that is. I'm barefoot and I'm fine.
I was going to say, I definitely paid the electricity bill, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this in the first place. Christopher Shapley, DVM, CVA, CVH, CVFT, everybody's favorite American veterinarian, especially Stephanie's. Happy to see Forrest back on the channel. Huge fan. Everybody's a huge fan of Forrest.
Except for Ken Ham.
Yeah. But I was going to say, there's probably quite a few aren't fans of his as well. Dr. Apocalypse has been a member for 9 months. Well done. Mrs. Have a banana, nudge, what's going on here then? Valleys, love to Forrest, Callum and Creaky. That was a mouthful. I didn't understand that, and I'm pretty sure that guy's Welsh, shouldn't he?
Ooh, super chat.
Why is Thrives?
I don't think there was a thing in there.
Oh yeah, there's no thing.
There's no thing.
Just a chat.
Thank you very much, pal. Anyway,
thanks for wasting your money on this show. We appreciate it.
I have a question.
Callum has a question.
I have a question. We've kind of covered all of the stuff, but I'm very curious to get your opinion on Russell Brand, because he kind of covers all bases, because he kind of, I don't know how long he's been a thing in the US, maybe from like 2010 onwards ish, but we've known about Russell Brand in the UK for a very long time, and he kind of built his audience being very left-wing, very liberal, famously went on like this massive political run trying to convince the young people of the UK not to vote, all this kind of stuff. And then obviously it's kind of no coincidence that, I mean, his spirituality thing was gradual, I guess, but it quickly turned into like psychosis. But it's no coincidence that it happened around the same time a lot of information came out about Russell Brand.
Yeah, the alleged time that he was raping lots of people. Yeah. Allegedly, because that case is still going on, but like, I don't know. I'm not big on pop culture, so I don't know too much. I know he's been a thing here in the States for a while. And he was kind of like the thing that my friend group and people around here knew him as, is he was just this, you know, kind of a old school rock star energy, where it was just like this guy with long hair and you know, torn up vagabond clothes, and he was just sleeping with everybody, and he would get on a show and be like, oh, I had sex at 3 years old with the midwife, and immediately I was just porking everybody. It was great, and I'm this free spirited whatever. And that was like the brand over here.
That was basically game over here as well.
Yeah. It's so I don't know what else. And then out of, again, there probably was a lot of stuff. I'm not a pop culture guy. I don't know, like, I'm not a Vogue magazine in my head, but like, just randomly out of the blue, he started being super right-wing MAGA Christian, and like getting up on stage and praying and aligning with Nazis and shit. And so it's yeah, for me, it just seems like the next phase of the grift. If I had to put a pin on it myself, if indeed he did allegedly sexually assault a lot of people and wouldn't be very welcome in the very liberal Hollywood space that he had made for himself, full of like sexual freedom and progress and feminism and rock and roll and all these things that he was aligning himself with. If he did indeed allegedly do those things, then it would make sense that he would then just move into a group of people that don't give a shit about that and don't think that women have equal value, and that are totally fine bringing in rapists and pedophiles and Nazis and white supremacists and grifters and all these other people, which is the Republican far right here in the United States. We literally have a pedophile for a president right now, and everybody knows it and nobody cares. And so I think that's the move that I would anticipate if I was watching this from the outside and knew anything about it, which again, I don't, is that he had made this great career for himself, and then this great career started going badly because of his own actions. And so that costs audience. That's the thing about being canceled on the internet, is that you never go away. You just exchange audiences. And so he lost this audience of decent people, and he had to just shift to an audience of people that are in a fucking cult. And the way to do that is by getting on your knees on stage, praying to magic carpenter in the sky, and then everyone's like, hey, good for you, because women don't have rights, I guess. And that's my take on the whole thing. And again, can't stress enough that I'm not 100% on all of it. I don't know a lot of things.
Yeah, because his shift, I was kind of a Russell Brand fan-ish.
Oh yeah, I liked him when I was young because he seemed
all the films he was in, very funny. But yeah, there was a point where I could still watch him, but he just crept over into, and the reason he popped into my head is because you made a joke about, doing the right-wing grift thingy. And I thought of him immediately, because it's interesting to me how a lot of those people, their careers start going sideways, and suddenly now they're on their knees on stage praying. Yeah. Hallelujah. It's just an odd transition that people make in their careers these days, it seems.
Well, I remember like when he I don't know the details. Recently, he was accused of aligning himself with like a lot of white supremacists and far right fascists and shit because of some folks he was hanging out with. I don't remember exactly who he was hanging out with or what he was at, but I remember those videos of him at some event, and people were like, hey, this is a fucking Nazi rally. What are you doing? And he was like, nah, Jesus.
Yeah, I think it was the RNC last year.
Something. It might have just been the RNC.
I think it was, which is pretty much an acting conference at this point.
It is. And like what blows me away is I remember back in the day when I thought he was interesting that he was making fun of them. And like that he was doing that. He got in trouble for making a joke about Hugo Boss and like the history of that company. And like, you remember when you had to make pants with extra elastic crotches for those high goose steps? Remember that? And like, that was a really good joke directed at a guy who had a big stake in that company. And then skip forward, a decade and a half, and this dude speaking at the RNC and preaching Jesus on stage and talking about how, the conservative politics are all the rage. And it scares the hell out of me because it works. That's what bothers me. But it works really well. And a lot of people follow along with it. And that sucks.
Yeah, it's Jim, you say about the edgy. I will let you back on the screen now, Dad. I've just kind of taken over. You're saying about the edgy.
No, nobody wants to see him. It's fine.
So in a 20-year gap, he went from infamously, this was before he was famous over there, he went to a party in New York on September the 12th, 2001, dressed as Osama bin Laden.
Jesus.
Which is crazy. There's edgy, and then there's that. Yeah, so he went from that to like, God bless America. It's such a shift.
It's where the money is. And it's where the money is, and it's where the reliability is. Because like that's the thing with like with the MAGA cult in America, and I use that word cult very deliberately. It's that you can do no wrong once you're in it. And once if you are a famous person who is willing to suck Trump's wrinkly sack, you are guaranteed a massive devoted audience forever that will defend every mistake you make and every shit you take. And so that, I think, is just what this is. He was losing the audience that he had built by being an edgelord, and then he lost the audience that he built by being this wannabe sex symbol. And now he has to find this new thing, which is ultra right conservative purity culture. 180-degree shift, but it works and it guarantees an audience. So, like, what are you gonna do?
It's crazy. It's terrifying.
All Russell Brand really did, though, he did the same thing all the way through it. He would do something that most people would consider to be, oh God, I can't believe he's doing that. That's a bit kind of out there. And then you'd kind of get used to it. So then he had to ramp it up again then, because his popularity was sort of like, like a wave on a graph.
Yeah, he always gravitates towards what he perceives as popular opinion. Whatever his perception of what is currently gonna please the most tends to be where he goes. And we know the reasons why he's gone to seek refuge where he has, but allegedly.
I've got to ask, how am I a fan of American football? He's going to get the Browns to the Super Bowl. I don't. Is that a reference that I'm too old to understand?
No, I think because you hadn't spoken in a while, people were saying that you'd snuck out for a shit.
Yeah. That's the term. Getting the Browns to the Super Bowl is about dumping. Yeah.
There we go.
See, seeing as we're talking about everybody's favorite orange person anyway, I swear, right, from before Callum was born, if I was going to take a shit, I was going for a Donald Trump.
That is something you always said growing up.
Always said it.
Always a Donald Trump.
By the way, I need a Donald.
Yeah.
So he's always been a turd in my eyes.
Yeah.
I can't believe he gets to run a whole country.
I know.
Twice. Fucking twice. And it's 10 times worse this time. It's god awful. I was always taught that if you turn off the lights in the bathroom and say the words Donald Trump into the mirror 3 times, all the hair and grease from your drain will crawl out and start screaming racial slurs. It sucks so bad, and like you see what it does to people's brains here in America. Like America is, as a country, we are already pretty far right. Like our most left-leaning politicians, the people that folks here think these crazy radical leftists are like barely left of center for the rest of the world.
Joe Biden's a good example. Joe Biden is borderline conservative in the UK.
He really is. He's a Republican everywhere else, and it sucks. And so like you have those folks that just that's our political landscape. Our Overton window is so far to the right as it is that even discussing, like, you have there are videos right now of like Republican senators, politicians at like a town hall meeting in their state just yelling at the audience, "You are not getting health care," as they're all screaming and booing because they don't care. They know they're gonna win anyway. It's fine. And now you see the absolute fucking brain rot that comes along with Donald Trump, who has said publicly he loves stupid people. He loves the poorly educated, and the smart people don't like him very much. And it's like, I'm literate. That's why I don't like you, dude. Like, it sucks. And you see the people who are just the fucking mask off, hood on, outwardly very openly racist now. We have more Nazi rallies than ever. We have more white supremacists now than ever. We have we're using, the dude used the word Palestinian as a slur during the campaign. We have ICE ramping up like crazy, arresting everybody, including American citizens, just because they're brown or they speak Spanish. We have arrested veterans. We have deported veterans. We have fucking concentration camps that we're building now, where Amnesty International has already reported that there are torturous conditions going on in those camps, especially with Alligator Alcatraz, where people are crammed in a fucking 2 foot by 2 foot little box and left out in the sun for days and weeks at a time, and with the bugs and the swamp and everything. And that's just a thing that we do now to Mexicans who are here sometimes legally as well. We use the term illegal immigrant as if it means subhuman, despite the fact that, crossing the border illegally is such a petty little civil offense. It's like a fucking parking ticket, but we use it to strip people of their humanity, and we use the threat of it or the suspicion of it or the trope of it to strip the humanity of people before we have any reason to believe that they are illegal. It is scary because I used to learn about fucking the 30s and wonder how people could fall for that shit. And now I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it right in front of me, where we have literally people willing to throw out our Constitution if it means they can hurt more people that they hate. And that's what it is here in the US because of that fucking orange shit state.
Because I've with a little bit of outside influence, I've put a kind of at least 2-year ban on myself visiting the States again.
I mean,
I love it over there, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I look like the sort of person they think would have something to hide.
Yeah. And they want more personal information from you than ever now. The
5 years social media, isn't it?
Yeah,
they want history just to get in.
There we are. Well, this conversation could potentially get you denied entry from the US.
Well, I had some folks. I do these international trips with a bunch of fans, and one of them was talking about how she tried to come to the US, and on the application form, they was like, "Have you ever done any drugs ever?" And she was like, "Yeah, obviously I've smoked weed and stuff." And they're like, "No, you can't come in." And it's like, what is this new rule? Like, what's going on? Like, they have this ridiculous purity culture.
That's a recent thing, as in, after most of the states is legalized.
Yeah, but there are still people sitting in American prisons for small amount of possession. While there are people making billions.
Isn't it? It was when I went out there and I went to a weed dispensary.
It was like magic.
It was so cool. It was like going just down to the general store, just round the corner from my house. It was so
and they just
easy.
got jars of bud, and it's amazing. And Callum's absolutely right, is that we legalized this. We decided it is no longer a crime, and yet we still have scores of people, usually black men, who are rotting in prison forever because they had it at one point way back in the day, which makes sense because we still have legalized slavery in this country, and it's called prison labor. We throw people in prison, and then we use those prisoners to make products at either low cost or no cost. A lot of their work is free. And then we sell those products for super cheap to American people and also internationally all around the world, which is why our constitutional amendment banning slavery says slavery is banned except as punishment for a crime. And so we have privatized prisons, which are run by corporations. Those prisons sign contracts with local and state governments to keep those prisons full. So we make crimes and we make criminals, and we increase poverty rates, and we increase the rates of destitution. We destroy America. We destroy education. We destroy infrastructure. We destroy everything we can to make sure that people are desperate and hungry, and they go out and commit crimes so we can cram them in boxes so we can make them work for little to no money, and then we can sell those products everywhere, and we remain an economic superpower. It's not even like subtle how we do it. We just don't talk about it.
The America and subtle are two words that don't usually go together.
Nope. No, we're very loud. We're loud people.
It's mad because we're talking about prisons and specifically the changes in the weed laws over the years in the States. Because I don't know if you're aware, but Thailand a few years back, they legalized weed. Which is probably why it's become such a tourist hotspot now. But the way they did it was kind of, and this is Thailand. They're a very conservative country. I mean, in terms of Asian countries, they're quite liberal. But in Western standards, we'll say they're pretty conservative.
Sure.
But when they legalized it back in June 2022, I believe, everyone who was in prison on cannabis charges were released the day the law changed, because you're no longer the thing you're here for is no longer considered a crime. So what is the point of keeping you in prison? But well, it's profit in America.
Seems reasonable, right? And like that's the counter argument over here is like, well, it was a crime when they did it, so they should be punished for committing a crime. Not what the crime is the fact that they committed a crime. And it's like, okay, that's dumb as all hell. because it's giving all sins are equal in the eyes of the Lord. It's that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not useful, especially considering all of the people, in the higher echelons of society that do the same fucking crimes and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And it's just, it sucks.
Yeah, it's so messed up. So let me just quickly address this super chat before we move
super
on.
chat.
I don't know if there's a delay in the stream. I know I've delayed reading of the super chat, but I don't know if this is I just wanted to say thanks for the super chat. We've moved on since then. I'm waffling. And because I'm really childish. Brian, this is the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, that is.
Who is
Right
now one of he's a regular contributor to my videos, as in the jokes I tell after the end screen.
Excellent.
He's got the same childlike humor that I have. So yeah. But yeah, I just want to share how knowledgeable I am on politics. There's this guy on TikTok, right? He's an old American guy with gray hair, and his last name is Kennedy. And he's saying some very funny, basically, he's just calling people stupid in very funny ways. But I'm not sure. First of all, do you know who I'm talking about? You
No,
don't?
I don't either.
Neither of you do.
No.
Oh, maybe
If you give me their handle,
maybe
I
I'm
can
the
figure
one
it
with
out.
the deep.
At first, I thought, you're not talking about RFK, are you? And then.
No, he's an old guy with gray hair, and he's saying some really funny things.
You haven't narrowed it down.
He's got so many different ways to call people. I bet you every time I open TikTok, he's the third or fourth video.
You won't be now, though.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Well, that's not going to work now that you're looking for it.
No,
It's
No.
not gonna happen.
No, definitely. No, I can't stop scrolling. I'm live streaming with Forrest Valkai.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but what I was getting at, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to like him or not, but he's very funny, whoever he is, and whether or not I'm allowed to like
Shout
him.
out to that guy.
Yeah.
Whoever you are.
Yeah, one of them is yeah, no, he's definitely a Kennedy, Ben. This is the guy who invented Forrest Valkai as well.
Nice.
Yeah, his last name is definitely Kennedy.
Yeah, but that doesn't really.
There's a lot of I don't
Well,
know.
I don't.
This is the most old man moment of this entire stream. There's this guy who has a name and he says some stuff and it's very funny. And one of them was something and it was funny, but just so you know, I read something very interesting last night and I'm excited to tell a bunch of young people about it.
This is basically what every Sunday is for me. To be fair, the fact is 42 minutes in, and that's the first time you've done it, is quite impressive.
And I just wanted to clear up as well that when Callum did cut back to me eventually, I was laughing. It wasn't at what Forrest was saying because it was very clippable. Forrest was talking about something deep and serious in politics. And when you cut back to me, I was laughing at Brian's remark about his wife's Forrest.
I don't know what that means, and I don't want to know.
No.
Right. Dr. Apocalypse wants to know, does Forrest run? Now, I obviously know what he's getting at, but he could just be asking if you are
athletic
to some cardiovascular exercise.
I would love to. I'm extremely anemic, but like someday I have a dream that I could do it. It'd be a lot of fun. Get up on that guy.
I met up with Simon Dan in London a couple of months ago. Two things. He's so tall.
He is very tall.
He can see that the Earth is a globe. Just himself. He's that tall. I look like a borrower. I've got a photo of me and Dan. I look like Vern Troyer next to Mike Myers. He's enormous. But anyway, and he was telling me, talking about running and, all that goes, and he was saying, I'm doing a couple of, I think he said they're called like mega marathons or
ultra marathons.
Mega. Yeah, that's, I'm
what is that?
53, give me a break.
100 miles, I think.
100, and he said, oh yeah, manager, no problem. It's like, I have to stop twice if I have to drive 100 miles. I can't understand how somebody can actually be that fit.
I've tried running so many times. It's not.
It's not for me.
No.
Not for me. Definitely not. So do you do any sort of, because you seem like keeping still is a suggestion.
It's hard. It's very
like
hard.
Me. I don't know if you've noticed it with me, but my legs, I'm like a duck. My legs
Yeah,
are
I'm
down and
I'm wiggling like this, or sometimes you can see my chair moving behind me because I've got my leg doing the same thing. And like, yeah, so it's either that or it's gonna be this or it's something. Like I can't just sit. I can't.
Yeah, so it's not just me then.
No, I can't do it. And like I it's the same thing for my entire life all the time forever, unless I am like deeply invested in something. I need to be moving constantly, and so like I need my mind to be moving a lot if my body is going to be still. So like the only way to actually get my body to stop twitching at any point is to get me like really, really invested in a topic that I can really focus on, and like think deeply about. Otherwise, I'm wiggling and jiggling at all times. Yeah, keeps your calves toned. Keeping your legs bouncing like that is nice.
I thought. I don't. I've not only gone bald on my head. I'm losing the hair on my lower legs. I thought my wife was just wearing it off, trying to warm her feet up at night. But,
just, it's great for aerodynamics. That's good. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't know, and I can't remember why I even brought that up now. So moving on, what were we talking about that my legs got involved?
I don't know why.
Talking about toning our calves by jiggling like lunatics at all times.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say maybe I frightened the hairs off and they've all just dropped off because I never
shook them away.
Never keep still.
They've bounced off.
Yeah, and you will have noticed this, but I know you're a gentleman. But the amount of times I interrupt people, I interrupted myself a few episodes back. I swear, I literally interrupted myself mid-sentence and completely changed topic. Yeah.
It's the sign of an active mind. It's good, you know.
Yeah, the only reason I think I'm able to shut up for so long when you talk is because I can understand what you're explaining, and I know you haven't explained anything particularly complicated so far.
The night is still young.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to go back to Kent Ovin, right? Because I get comments, oh, you shouldn't be giving him the attention he wants and everything. Yeah, but he's fun to make videos about. So we'll pick a different young Earth creationist.
Sure.
So when I don't know, Matt Powell is explaining something to him, is there any indication to you? Because when I look things up, quite often I leave the information that I've looked up thinking to myself, so he does know how it really works then, because he wouldn't have been able to explain it incorrectly unless he knew how it actually worked. Do you encounter that, but more naturally, not having given yourself a headache reading stuff?
It maybe, I don't know. I try not to read that far into things like that, because I do think like when I'm watching somebody, like I try to wonder like, okay, why are they saying this? What's the hidden message here? What's the goal of the video? And like that kind of marketing brain, like I try to incorporate that a bit. But as far as like, do I think this person is deliberately lying? I need evidence for that before I try to make that assumption.
Yeah.
When it comes to people like for example, like Eric Hovind, like I just made videos about him, and all of his arguments are boring. They're the same things that everybody else has said. Yeah. And I know for sure that people have explained it to him properly. I know people who have talked to him directly and have a relationship with him that I know have explained it to him properly. And so at that point, it's like, okay, you are either deliberately like avoiding something, or you haven't been convinced yet, and you give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you just haven't been convinced yet. Or more likely, you know what sells. You know what I mean? You've made an audience, you've made this niche for yourself, and you know what makes money in that niche. Yeah. You know what gets the clicks. You know what gets people to pay attention. You know what can convince people who also don't know anything about this. So, like, for example, if I'm talking about the Bible, sometimes I'll joke and I'll say that the Bible is a sex and slavery manual from the Bronze Age or something like that. And like, that's obviously very reductive, right? That's a very reductionist and straw man-y way to talk about it. So it really depends on the audience that I'm talking to and what I'm trying to get out of the statement. If I were to say so, I certainly wouldn't say that if I was trying to convince a Christian that they
Yeah.
shouldn't believe in the Bible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I hear people like Eric Hovind and Ken Ham and Matt Powell and all these people, and they use terms like molecules to man evolution or fish to fisherman or whatever, or they talk about there's this one clip of Ken Ham that I reacted to a while ago. It's like, if you just tell a scientist that you don't believe in billions of years, they'll go berserk. They don't know what to do.
Yeah,
and it's like,
there's
there's no reason to say that unless you are preaching to the choir. You know what I mean?
So at that point, sensationalizing it.
Yes. So like at that point, I'm not going to waste my time speculating like maybe they actually do know this stuff and they're trying to blah, blah, blah. I think what it is that they have a congregation, they have a flock that they're trying to keep up with. And it is much, much better to continue to sell them the straw man, to insulate them, to guarantee their membership and their donations in your fucking cult, which Answers in Genesis is a fucking cult, to continue to pay into this rather than have any kind of sympathy or seriousness about the other side. So I think that's more to do with what it is. It's just marketing. It's just leadership. It's just culty behavior.
Yeah.
And you'll see, you can easily accuse me of the same thing because I know there's somebody watching this punching their keyboard right now who can accuse me of the same thing, that when I'm on my channel, I make a lot more jokes and make fun of things a lot differently than I would if I was in a serious debate with a Christian, like I am on the line or whatever like that. And I think that's fine. The difference is that I am not passing the offering plate during this. And I am at least allowing my opponent, when I do Reacteria, I am allowing my opponent to say their entire piece. I very rarely will cut something out of a video. And when I do, I usually put a note on the screen saying, hey, I cut this part out for time. Feel free to go watch the full video and make sure I did not mischaracterize this person. Answers in Genesis is never going to do that. You know what I mean? They're never going to allow that kind of shit because that would defeat their message.
Yeah, exactly. And they all seem completely incapable of even being wrong about even the tiniest detail. They have to be kind of always right all the time, and they can't take it. So here's an interesting question. I just thought of this one. So
what are you thinking?
I've had some people say things like, oh, you shouldn't call flat earthers idiots. You shouldn't call creationists morons. And then sometimes I think, maybe I shouldn't. I'll try and be a bit more sciencey. Then I get people saying, oh, you're going too sciencey. You should be, you know how YouTube works. You're on yourself. Yeah. But you kind of do both though.
Yeah.
But do you think, and again, imposter syndrome rearing its ugly head, do you think that's because, and this is more of a statement than a question really, because you are actually an evolutionary biologist and I'm just a guy from Wales with a big mouth who happens to find it interesting and is capable of reading and understanding information, gives me less authority than you?
No, you're right if you're right. And so here's the thing. I studied evolution for a long time. For like all of my undergrad and my first master's, evolution was like the thing. And I've since moved on to other fields, but like evolutionary biology is still one part of my job description, title, focus, all these things. And I have a bunch of other weird shit like that too. And so at the end of the day, if I'm going to come on and talk to somebody and I say, I'm a biologist, so you should believe this, then I'm an asshole. And I'm doing an argument from authority about myself. But if I say, here's what I have learned in my career as an academic, as an educator, as whatever, here's what my college textbooks taught me. Here's the scientific papers that I've read in my time. Here's what I learned in university at this time. I was in this class. We talked about this. Those kinds of things are the exact same arguments that you would make as just a person who knows how to read and comprehend things, which, by the way, knowing how to read and comprehend things sets you like an order of magnitude above most creation, essentially. And so like for me, when it comes to that balance between like being snarky versus being educational, it's really about intention for me. So like if somebody, like I host On the Line once a week, and if somebody calls in with terrible misapprehensions about whatever scientific thing, but they're asking serious questions and having an earnest conversation with me about it and saying, okay, well, I don't believe in evolution because of this. And I explain, okay, well, here's the problem with that. And here's what the actual science says. And even if they don't believe me, they grapple with that and have that conversation. I'm not going to call that person an idiot. I'm going to tell them they're very wrong. And I'm going to say that they're being taken advantage of. And I'm going to say that they should, reevaluate their assumptions and all those things. However, if someone is actively kind of propping up this usual language, which is this is all new stuff that's being added to the science curriculum. This is a conspiracy to get us away from God, culture, to destroy the West, to to do something to control the population, whatever. There's some conspiracy to do some sort of thing. This is only a thing in academia because you lose your job if you disagree with this, and there's this cabal of academics that mean that you have to believe this and you have to teach this, and that if you don't believe this, you won't get funding. And the only reason that there's so much research on this is because there's big money in it, and that you are the product, and people are selling this to you, and that. This is, it's very obvious. You can look around and see XYZ thing, and science is trying to convince you of something else because it's all, it's liberal and it's woke and it's leftist and whatever. Every one of those statements, every one of those things describes the entire argument from creationism, from flat earth, from anti-vaxxers, from transphobes, from chemtrails, from every science denier out there that believes that the young earth, or that sex and gender are synonymous and binary, or that evolution isn't real, and that humans aren't animals, or pick your favorite, or that vaccines are going to give you a microchip that makes you get 5G reception in your brain. Pick your favorite thing. Those are the arguments. And so that's what I'm like. I will then be more snarky and more shitty to somebody if they are actually a science denier and they are going out of their way to be antagonistic.
Right, I'm just quickly going to address this super chat. Then we've got a question from the chat from Nerdy. How you funny? It used to be Nerdy Stephanie. Anyway, we've got a question, right? So, thank you to Mr. Weedwacky for Danish Corona, I think that is. Found your leg, Ed. It was so cold, it was snuggling up under your nose.
There you go.
I'm giving Tom Selleck a run for his money. So, I'll be honest, I've avoided answering any questions about Will Duffy because people keep saying things to me similar in kind of tonal inquiry to this question. Do I think it's really stupid that Will thinks the Earth is 6,000 years old? Yes, I do. Why have I not made any videos saying that publicly? 2 reasons. Reason number 1, because I haven't seen him make a video which is dedicated to trying to rinse and con other people into believing a blatant lie. And 2, I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to make a video about somebody just because he believes something stupid. I only make videos about people who believe something stupid and make a YouTube video of that stupid and then see that 18,000 people have watched it and 17,000 of them were just as stupid. So that's why I haven't. But Stephanie's question is valid anyway, and it's for both of us. What are our thoughts on Will Duffy being obtuse as a flurf about young Earth creationism on streams with Erica? I'll be honest, I haven't watched any of them.
That's exactly.
You've seen them, Forrest. I'm sure you and Erica are friends, so I'm sure that you've seen
We are
them.
friends. We are friends, and I have not watched any of those videos either. And I'll tell her. I've just been busy. It was final season, and I did a trip to Germany for a while, and I was doing a whole thing, and I haven't had time to watch any of them. But if this person is willing to, this is the person I think she's doing like the series of teaching evolution to a creationist. And
sorry, Forrest. I assumed you knew who Will Duffy was. He was the guy that
I don't know who that is.
Organized and paid for some flat earthers and some from Dave McKeegan went, Jaron Campanella, Austin Whitsett. Will,
those are words. Those are all names.
Yeah, he's a pastor. You don't know who any of them are, so
not a clue.
Basically, a handful of flat earthers, a handful of globe earthers will
Okay.
put up 100K of his own money and paid for them all to go to Antarctica during the Antarctic summer to prove that we live on a globe.
To witness the 24-hour
Yeah,
sun.
to witness the 24
Well,
specifically.
okay, yeah, I have heard of that event. I didn't
Right,
know who
well-
any of these people were.
Well, Will is the creator of the final experiment.
Radical.
And it came out after the fact that he thinks the Earth
No.
is only 6,000 years old.
I will say,
Okay.
I will say this. In Will's very first YouTube video where he announces the final experiment,
Yeah.
he introduces himself as Will Duffy, something, and he either says pastor or minister.
Yeah, no, we knew he was a pastor. We just didn't
Hmm.
know what flavor of pastor he was. And as it turns
Right.
out, he's the young Earth creationist flavor.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know anything about this guy besides what you've just told me. I think that if he's willing to sit down with somebody like Erica and actually have a conversation, that is that's a mark towards him. That's something that I can say is pretty cool. I get people who call into the line and stuff all the time, and just because they're willing to have a conversation, it doesn't mean that they're willing to have a serious conversation.
Yeah.
So like maybe he's being a dick about it. Who knows? I genuinely I'm watching this. But if he's willing to do, it's different to say he had a conversation and he was a dick versus he's committed to a video series and he's a dick.
Yeah.
That there's different vibes, and it's not lost on me that if he's committed to this whole thing, he may deserve some more credit, and that who knows, maybe he'll change his mind as time goes along, because Eric is very persuasive and very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't seen it, and maybe I'll see it someday whenever I have some amount of free time.
Yeah, because it's almost as if kind of people want me to attack him, and it's kind of
I'm not a fan of that. See, because
for what he hasn't. Okay, he has said that he thinks the Earth is only 6,000 or 10,000. I can't remember, and if you see this, I apologize. I'm not sure exactly, but I just know that you're a young Earth creationist. But like you say, the fact that he's even willing to sit down with Erica is to his credit, because it at least maybe suggests that there's a possibility that he could be kind of convinced that, because people ask me again, it's always specific to Christianity. I don't go after Christians. I don't make videos just, oh, I'm an atheist. I don't make, that's not the kind of content I make. I only make videos about Christians when they're young Earth creationist flavor.
Well, even that, like, I feel like even that, it's not like every young Earth creationist is getting put in the spotlight here, because there are people out there, and this is going to sound really fucking condescending, and I'm sorry, there's no other way to say it, but like there are some people out there that are genuinely just ignorant of this. They've been raised in whatever culture that forced them to believe this, or they never had the opportunity to learn this stuff, or for whatever. There's a million reasons that they can innocently just not fucking know what's really going on. And you have people like the people we've been talking about in this show whose whole job, their entire career, is to lie to children. The entire purpose of things like Answers in Genesis is to lie to children, to teach them a straw man of what science actually is and how scientists actually think.
Because
I'm never going to be mad at somebody like Will Duffy for just being wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Because somebody who I consider to be a friend is the pastor of the local Pentecostal Praise Jesus church. He's one of those. But I know, right? If I picked my phone up and rang him at 3 o'clock in the morning for any reason, he would be at my front door within 5 minutes to help me with whatever it was I needed. I tell you what, when I move, right? About 14 years ago, honestly, he had me out of the old house so fast, I couldn't even remember if I'd locked the doors to the old house. He's like a moving ninja, and I kind of almost didn't even ask for his help, but he wanted to come and help. Now, with somebody like him, I'm sure Jason believes the Earth is 6,000 years old. Didn't mean to say his name out loud then, but anyway, doesn't narrow it down. There's a lot of
Jason.
in Wales. but I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would be. You know, the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
Probably, yeah.
You know,
Well,
but
and that's the thing.
I don't care.
What you're describing sounds to me like he is a good person. And
Yeah.
it doesn't ring to me like he's a good person because he's religious. He's a good person, period. And like
Exactly.
I get that. I have friends that are Christians. One of the best people I know is a Muslim, and I've had him on the line as a guest.
Yeah.
He knows I don't like his religion. We just don't talk about it because it's not important. It's not what we're here to talk about. He's a human rights lawyer, and I think he's fucking awesome. And he's never said anything that I disagree with, except for God is real. And so like this dude's an amazingly good person. And I want to be his friend. I want to support him in his career, and I want to be like and we'll talk about religion when we talk about religion. And it's the same way with any Christian or any Buddhist or any Hindu or anybody else out there, as long as they're decent people. And so I think that's really important. And the person, to their credit, did say in the chat they weren't trying to get you to attack this person.
No.
I just want to but that's the thing. It just there is a stigma. I think it's good that we're talking about this because there is this idea, and especially in the skeptic space, in our own space, that reaffirms the persecution fantasy of a lot of Christians. There's especially a lot of like evangelical and Pentecostal Christians, where you have this belief that the more the world comes after you, the more that's fulfilling the end times prophecy. And so the more the world comes after you, the more that proves your religion. And so they have this deep desire to be persecuted and to be hated and to be and so you'll see them go out and scream from the rooftops about their religion, so that when someone says shut the fuck up, it's 4 a.m, they can say it's persecution. And there are a lot of atheists in our space that act that way and are jerks and are like, no, religion's a mental illness and all these, every Christian's a fucking idiot and all this. And it's like, dude, you are doing their work for them, and you're a cunt. Stop. This
is going exactly where I'd hoped it would go. But let me just quickly address a couple of super chats, because I always feel bad when I don't. £2 towards the Tash Wax Fund. Thank you very much indeed.
Nice.
I've got a very expensive tin in the house, so expensive I never use it. Now make Rolly Fingers jealous. I don't know what the hell that even means. And Thrive. Will Duffy called into the line and said he stands outside of abortion clinics protesting. He's not a...
Okay, well, fuck that guy then. If that's true, then fuck that guy.
This is the thing, see, just because there are so many factors that kind of qualify a person to me as to whether I should or shouldn't make a video about them. And, you know, one single thing isn't necessarily enough. You know, you can still be a really nice guy and believe the Earth is only 6,000 years old, but you can also be a bit of a twat, it would seem. But,
I'm strong. Yeah, that one is.
But that's... I only know that because Thrive has said it. How do I know that Thrive isn't just a raging liar that stumbled into the chat and he's just trying to get a rise out of people? And you know what I mean?
Oh, it's the reason why is because of that
research in it, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, this is from Colorado Public Radio. And
no, see, I always try to stay kind of on the fence.
And we search for Will Duffy.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that's a rough situation right there.
That's not a good look.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's so like
I can't, because that kind of goes against your whole. He's not shoving it down anyone's throat.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Turns out he is.
Maybe he might not be doing it online.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see how time goes. So anyway, thank you to all the super chatters, and thank you for almost 200 viewers. That's the most we've had in ages. It's definitely not because Forrest is here. It's
not
me.
at all.
It's because I've had a haircut.
Yes.
Yeah, it's me. It's me.
If anything, I'm bringing the numbers down.
Yeah, you're really not. So you said something then about there are some atheists within the atheist community, or our kind of space. Yeah. Because I've always had this feel, right? I had never. I was a lot younger than I am now when I stopped believing in God. I went to Catholic school. I was even an altar boy. But anyway, I grew out of I got to a point where I was like, what? There's no way that's true. I kind of grew out of being a Catholic in the same way. And if there are any children watching, you shouldn't be letting them watch me. I'm a 53-year-old man. It was the same to me as growing out of the belief in Santa Claus. So,
what are you trying to say?
Right. Sorry, Cal. I didn't think. I'm sorry.
So my laptop isn't in the North Pole.
Don't. It's definitely in the North Pole.
Wow.
I handed it to the elves myself.
Wow.
But anyway, so until I was on YouTube, I had never even needed to say, oh yeah, I'm an atheist, because I don't know, maybe the people I'm around, we just don't talk about religion. But then the longer I was on YouTube and the more often I said, yeah, I'm an atheist, it started to feel like Catholic, Christian, Muslim, atheist, Hindu. But it kind of started to feel a bit like, but there's like, you're organizing yourselves in a group that very closely resembles a religion, even though I know it's not, to fight religion.
I much prefer the term.
I don't know why.
I much prefer agnostic as a phrase, as a word for coward.
See, I say people have said, yeah, you should say you're an agnostic atheist because you haven't seen anything that would prove to you that there's a God.
Well,
but that's only because there isn't anything. But
then you have to get into the whole Punnett square of agnosticism versus theism and like how these words overlap, and it gets real pedantic real fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, and this is going to sound super wanky, but I think it's because I tend to like to look at like the philosophical thing rather than the scientific. So I don't know if maybe that's where I get like I'm very much like yes, that is all factual, but just imagine hypothetically, like
that's not a bad game as long as you're willing to, like, for me, like, I love that old Stephen Fry interview where he talks about it's not just there is no God, it's if there is a God, what kind of God is it? And so like you said, just imagine, and there's no situation in which he's not a dick. And so like that for me is a big tool when discussing this stuff. And by the way, you mentioned like not having a word for it. I wish I could find, I tried to search it for a second, I couldn't find it, but there was this video from a long time ago that was supposed to be a very sad video from like a Christian guy about how like the state of faith in the world, and it ended up being fucking hysterical because he went to like Norway or something like that, a very atheistic place. And he was like asking people, do you believe in God and why not? And it was, again, supposed to be sad, but the answers were spectacular because there was this one I remember distinctly of this guy saying, of course I don't believe in God. And he's like, well, why not? He said, because if there isn't a God, then why should I believe there is? And it's like, that is as good of an answer as Christians give to me all the time as to why they do believe.
Yeah,
it sucks so bad.
That Stephen Fry one, though, that's one of the things.
It is a brilliant.
It always sticks in my brain. This kind of what kind of God is he? And then he goes into the whole thing about the burrowing insects and everything. It's so valid.
And I love I don't remember the reporter's name, his rebuttal, and he goes, and you think you'd get in? And he's like, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you can see how frustrated that reporter is. And it's the same thing as there was that back in the day, there was this atheist convention in Australia. And they had like, Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and all the people that were very big at that time. And they the reporter on the news is talking about this thing. Is like, so why do you have to get together to have a convention about stuff you don't believe in? And what do you say to all the people who just think you're all a bunch of freaks who don't believe in Jesus? And it's like the reporter is very clearly very upset that this is happening and like having a really hard time suppressing that. And it's the same thing in that Stephen Fry interview. It's like you can see halfway through his answer, the reporter's just kind of like, takes a seat back. It sucks so bad.
There's this guy on TikTok and he's always live streaming. I've never seen an upload. It's always he's live and he'll have a little sign with him. Prove to me that is it prove to me that God isn't real, or prove to me that there is no evidence for God. And I tell
yeah.
anybody else wants to try this, just type which one in the chat. You'll get a join me on my live stream invitation quicker than you could possibly imagine. The only trouble is he's always live streaming when I'm having, dropping the kids off at the pool on the porcelain throne. I can't debate the Christian while I got my strider on my ankles.
That would be funny.
I feel like that's the best time to do it.
Well, I do it all the time, and every time he invites me, I'm a shocking one day and accept the invitation. But it's like, so you were talking about Kent Hovind earlier and his debating skills.
Mm-hmm.
People ask me all the time, and they'll say, "Oh no, you won't even debate anybody," and it's I don't want to, but with me, it's kind of the retention of information. So, have you ever been in a kind of debate scenario and kind of not that you've kind of blanked and not known how to respond, but after the event, kind of, I should have said that. That's a much better kind of. Because that happens to me with almost every upload.
Every single upload, every video I put out, every week when I'm on the line, all the time. It's either that also are like, I'll notice things that I did wrong. And like, I just released a video about that girl here in Oklahoma who did this god awful essay just preaching about how much he hates trans people and how God is God and God does God stuff.
I've seen that.
Yes. And in that video, I did 3 editing mistakes. 2 of them where I put a fucking edit on her paper between the wrong 2 words. I was just over a little bit, and that makes me look like a fucking idiot. And then also I had something pop up on the screen like half a second too early, and if you're looking really carefully, you can tell. And I just pinned a comment about it. You get 1 pinned comment on YouTube, and the pinned comment on that video is, did anybody notice how fucking stupid I am? I did this wrong. And on the line, it happens all the time. I had this guy call in once talking about how he doesn't believe in evolution. And his whole argument was about the biological species concept. And my entire argument back was, you are not using these words properly. Yeah. And after that call ended, I realized I should have mentioned the problems with that species concept. And that would have put him in a corner. He would have known. But it probably wouldn't have worked anyway. But that bothers me. And so I just did the same thing. The next time I was on, I talked about it. And I was like, hey, does everybody remember this call? I'm an idiot. And this is what I should have been talking about.
Yeah.
So that happens to me every time I do anything. I guarantee when I leave this show, I'm going to remember some shit I should have said. And I'm going to bring it up later and talk about how dumb I am. So
we'll be doing that for the next couple of days.
I'll probably wake up for one of my old man peas at various points through the night to think, I meant to ask Forrest.
But and you'll never have me back on. So this was your only chance, I
know my brain just switches off.
He called me a coward. It's getting hostile in you.
Press the fanfare button, and the one that makes the streamers come off and the clown fall down from the ceiling. Sick. There we are. I was talking about this the other day. Who's my longest standing channel member? Well, it's Christopher Shapley. Wow. DVM, CVA, CVH, CVFT, everybody's favorite American veterinarian, and the guy who lets me sleep in his house when I visit America for free.
Incredible.
Yes. Incredible. So, thank you.
You just have to share a bed with a sick dog or whatever he's got going on.
Yeah. It was when we visited last time. He had Chris is a big believer in if you do good
karma.
Things, good things come to you. So karma, So he had got a couple of karma points living in one of his spare rooms in a gigantic cage. Rats. I don't mind rats at all. But the kids used to have pet rats when they were little, but Mrs. Blinder was a little bit
it's because they stunk of piss.
Every night she'd be asking me, they can't get out, can they? No, Chris is like no, they can't get out. But our rats, they were disgusting. They were cool, but they smelly and all.
I think we just didn't know how to look after them properly, is what it was.
I had rats.
You probably shouldn't have let a 10-year-old me have 2 pet rats, is what it was.
I had 2 pet rats when I was about that age, and they would get out all the time. Yeah. And then they would go terrorize my house for a while, and then in the morning they would just be at the foot of the bed, just kind of like, all right, we're ready, we can go home now. You know, like,
We never had much luck with them with little furry pets. We bought them Chinese hamsters. Turns out you can only house Chinese hamsters individually. If you still want there to be 2 in the cage the morning after you bought them and the cage they came in. One of them, well, there was 1.5 Chinese hamsters. You know, we couldn't expect him to eat the whole other hamster in one sitting.
Of course.
He was saving it for the next meal.
You know, when young people say, how did people cope before the internet and before they had access to information? That's how you find out you can't keep 2 Chinese hamsters in a cage. Now you would Google it.
One eats the other one.
I just looked it up. I typed in Chinese hamsters to see, and the first thing I get here is Chinese hamsters are solitary and cannot be kept together under any condition.
Yeah.
Apparently, you're not the only ones with this problem.
Can I go in and add on because they eat each other?
Yeah.
Right. I was hoping I didn't have to address.
Sorry.
Sorry, Carl. Put that
That
back
was
on.
my
I
fault.
got
Yeah.
it. Oh, there we are. It's like a disco in here. Will there be any more Super Atheist Heroes videos? And do all of you know each other? Maybe you have a secret handshake or a clubhouse somewhere. First of all, Forrest, I don't know whether this is because you didn't notice or because it's what I hope it is, and you're just too much of a gentleman to call me.
That you didn't put my fucking video in your video. Is that what I'm talking about? You son of a bitch.
You were the one I was the most excited to have in one of my videos. And I watched it about 5 frigging times.
You did in the thumbnail, though, didn't you?
Yeah,
Forrest was in the thumbnail.
No, of course I'm in the thumbnail. Absolutely. We got to get the views. I mean, come on. And then they're going to watch your video 3 times looking to say, did I miss him? What's going on? And then you get extra revenue. You bastard. It was planned out from the start.
But you know,
You were gutted, to be fair.
Yeah, it was pointed out to me while we were live on a Sunday night. But I never would have noticed because I had watched that video then as much as I was ever, you know, I do write my own content.
It was out in ether then. You don't go back
it
and
was
watch.
gone then. And somebody said, why wasn't Forrest Valkai in your video? And I was like, of course he was in my video. He was in the thumbnail. And then when I watched it back, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
It's so funny. No, like honestly, I did notice it, but of course I didn't care. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but it was very funny.
I liked how, because nothing makes me happier than when you make an ass out of yourself on the internet. Was it was the fact,
in fairness.
No, it was the fact you said such nice things about Creaky, and then he forgot to even put you in his video.
I know. You didn't just remember to put me in there. You said nice thing.
I put my I put all of my videos together, all the whatever 10 of them. I clipped them all together and I released them as a special video for patrons and for channel members. Right. And in mine, I tried to say, I had an intro thing. It said, as one of my most fervent and fiscally irresponsible supporters, you get special access to all 10 of the videos. Yeah. And I fucking didn't proofread and spelled it fiscally irresponsible. And you know what? That's what people pay money for me. That's, you know what I mean?
There's a thing with me as well. I can remember I was responding. It was either Matt Powell or Kent Hovind. That's as much as I can remember. And I was talking about abiogenesis. And I accidentally, you know, sometimes you'll say, and I said abiogenesis, and I just carried on. And then people started making references then to Phil Collins and the band Genesis. And I didn't know they had a song called AO. I didn't know they were from Yorkshire, that kind of thing. So now
you should have leaned into it at that point.
Yeah, every time now I have to use the word abiogenesis in a video, I will put the gorilla, the most famous Phil Collins, and then I get loads of smart asses saying, but that was after Genesis broke up and he was just oh yeah, okay, buzzkill, way to ruin a perfectly good and frequently reusable joke.
I misspelled the word evolution in a video once. It was I think it was the first episode of Reacteria. I misspelled the word purport and I misspelled the word evolution. And like it was because I was at that time editing all of my videos on my cell phone, which I was also recording all of my videos on. And I didn't have the technology to go double check.
Has that ever occurred to you, or maybe young Earth creationists don't make as stupid claims as flat earthers do, but the flat earther that springs to mind is CC Chris from Westchester County. He made a video claiming that like our technology hasn't moved. Everything is fake with Chris. Absolutely everything. I'm sure the Pentaveret was made about him. Nothing tangible, usable, nothing is real, except for what he says is real, obviously. And it's the, you know, with people who are that deluded and get to that point, do you think that, you know, that they even not, you know, people will say things and funny things in comments like, oh, he's too stupid, and oh, how stupid he is. But do you come across people and you think, do you know, actually, that's probably a really accurate way to describe them? You know, I saw a flat earther on TikTok the other day, and he was clearly just parroting exact sentences that he'd heard Eric Dubé say. Actually, there was an example of this on my channel. I can't remember the bloody guy's name now, but he had taken an Eric Dubé video. I had reacted to an Eric Dubé video, we'll say today, and then 3 days later, I come across this other video. I click on it, and I thought, "Hold on a minute, that's familiar, but it's not." No, I know all flat earthers sound the same. But when I started making that video, I went, hang on a second, this is more than familiar. And something told me, look at that Eric Dubé. He had literally remade Eric Dubé's video word for word.
I think he had literally just lifted the footage and obviously got the transcript and then done his own voiceover over Eric Dubé's video.
It was absolutely
that shit
insane.
Happens all the time. It's
so there's
bad.
Somebody then who he's just blindly believing that what Eric Dubé says is right because he's this charismatic yoga instructor guy. He's a published author. All his books are about flat earth, and some of them are aimed at kids. Nice guy.
Hey,
but it's,
of course.
You know, it's loosely tying back to the thing with Will Duffy. It's how much harm I perceive that they do. So do you think young earth creationists cause more harm, or somebody who says that they believe the earth is flat?
I feel like flat earthers are still so like universally reviled, and like they have people like you can go anywhere around the globe and see somebody who can laugh at a flat earther. And it's one of those things where like the science is so obvious and so clear on the ground that like you would need something like a young earth creationist movement to preach to children to try to fight it. So like, I feel like young earth creationists definitely do more harm now, especially considering the fact that 9 times out of 10, flat earthers are not going to have that same like super religious tie-in. You know what I mean? They are going to have the tie-in of all science is lying to you, and there's this big global conspiracy, and there's probably a religious component, the firmaments and all that whole thing, but it's not the same kind of thing that we get when we look at a young earth creationist. So like, I think just on the grounds of the influence that they have, how normalized they are, and the sheer amount of baggage that they're able to get away with, I think that young earth creationists are definitely at this moment more dangerous.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, flat earthers will tell people, yes, all scientists are wrong or liars, and some people will believe them. But then a young earth creationist will say, oh no, all Forrest Valkai is a liar. He knows the earth is only 6,000 years old because God said it. And that, because God said it, is like the difference between going into a fight with a dagger versus a bazooka. Because once you add the religious component, your kind of pool of people who will potentially believe it increases enormously, doesn't it? Because of God.
Yeah. And you have the same kind of thing where it's like, you know, it's easier to say, it's easier to trick somebody by saying, we've never seen, you know, millions of years of evolution. We've never seen a dinosaur give birth to a bird. We've never seen blah, blah, blah. Like those kind of things are very easy. It's harder to then say the moon landing was a conspiracy and by the government, and we've never even been to space. And the satellites that make your cell phone work and your GPS work and all those aren't real. And like there's a lot there that they interact with every day. And it's the same thing with evolution. You interact with evolution every single day too. People just don't realize it. But like with flat Earth, there's so many things that people are excited about. Space is so fucking cool. People are really into that. The one time I ever had a discussion with a flat earther in person, they were super Christian and they were raising their kids that way too. And they wore giant, like comically large wooden crosses. And they believed that the earth was flat because it says in Genesis that there's a dome and the firmament and that we've never been to space. And that was, I've referenced this conversation before. That was the guy who told me that I believe in the speed of light and force of gravity and stuff on faith. And I said, no, when you get a science degree, you test these things in labs. I have been in a physics lab where I have demonstrated myself the speed of light and the force of gravity. And he said, well, you can't prove to me that physics works the same in that lab as it does out here. And like, that was his thinking.
Yeah, but that argument is just, I wasn't there to see it, therefore it's not true. But but the same can just as easily and carelessly be applied to what they believe. So one thing I wanted to reference, you know, around young Earth creation, it's around Kent Hovind, because as dull as I think and stupid I think it is to believe the Earth is only 6,000 years old, apart from Kent and Matt Powell, I've never heard anyone else say that we think we came from rocks.
Yeah.
Why is that wrong to an evolutionary biologist?
A lot of reasons.
So that's not what happened, obviously.
Yeah. So the big thing is when you talk about like life coming from rocks, I've heard this a lot from people who believe in stuff like that on TikTok. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What happens with this is number one, they think that that's what the Big Bang was rocks exploding in space or something exploded, blah, 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 blah. And they also think the Big Bang is the same thing as the beginning of the Earth, and also the same thing as the beginning of life, and also the same thing as like the evolution of humans. It's all synonymous. They also, what the most articulate among them, the ones that are really trying to get there, is that like you have like these papers that talk about like mineral mediated formation or chemical evolution, formation of complex organic molecules. Like, for example, there was one that was really famous a little while ago about oligoribonucleotides that were, which is short stretches of RNA that were self-assembling in like with some minerals about. And so they'll say, oh, these minerals are rocks and therefore they're creating life. And you think rocks creating life, blah, blah, blah. But usually it is literally just the belief that actually a real actual rock became a human. And one of my favorite ways to criticize that is to say, okay, so we agree that rocks can't make humans. What about like really, really small rocks? Like what if we like ground that rock up into like really, really fine powder? Still no. What if we got it wet? What if we had really, really fine ground up wet rocks? Would that make a human? No. Okay, so then we agree that clay can't make a human, so Genesis is wrong, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's missing the mark so hard on purpose, and it's either selling a straw man or it is supposed to be belittling abiogenesis research.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's wrong is in the big scope is that it is just the next way to fill in that kind of gap of ignorance. We used to not know almost anything about abiogenesis, right? And then like the Urey Miller experiment and shit came along. We learned that like things like amino acids can self-assemble.
Yeah.
Not a perfect experiment. Lots of problems with that experiment. Lots of ways it's been redone. But every way that it's been redone and changed and modified and tweaked over the years, we keep finding more fucking amino acids and it keeps working. And also we find them in goddamn space as well.
Yeah.
And then the other building blocks of life, we find sugars in space. We find nitrogenous bases on meteorites. We find words. We find words all over the place. Carbohydrates are sugars. Proteins are amino acids. Lipids. Jesus of Christland. I couldn't remember the word lipid for a second. We find, fatty acids in space. We find all these things out in fucking space. And we find all these things in self-assemble here on Earth. And we find all these things do the things that they do in our bodies, in any living organism, naturally, all by themselves, all the time. Yeah. And so the reason why this is the most wrong is just because it is ignoring just how far we've come since this argument started. And all it's doing is taking the exact same God of the gaps and shrinking it down into a smaller and smaller and smaller little pocket of ignorance until we learn everything. And then it explodes and everything's God. Every time we don't know something, that's God. And every time we do know something, that's complicated. So that's God. And that's just what this is doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of, it's just circular reasoning. They, you know, like you just said, either God just did it by default, or that's really hard to understand, or God must have done that as well. And they use that as a defense to any valid point that's presented to them. And as far as I can see, they do that because they know they have no kind of valid argument to put up against observable reality. It's because, at least if I'm understanding it correctly, I certainly Kent Hovind and Matt Powell, I think their claim is that they are trying to get people to believe that we think that the Big Bang and I appeared, this microphone appeared, this empty can of Pepsi appeared, but that's not what the Big Bang
It's not how
was.
anything works. Not how anything works.
Yeah.
I made a video of this really stupid clip using a song from 8 Crazy Nights, the movie, where there's this TikTok trend where the song is someone going, "It's just not fair," and then the someone else comes in and goes, "Bum biddy 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 bum bum," and the meme, the trend on TikTok was to have, you know, the person saying it's not fair was some person in some situation, and then the bum bitty bitty bum bum guy was some obnoxious ass solution to that, like something that you don't want, something ridiculous. And so the twist that I did of it, my version of the video, was a student trying to learn evolution, and they're having a hard time. It's not fair, and then somebody comes in with a Bible, and it's a bum bitty bitty bum, and it's like, have you considered magic? You know, and I got 10 billion comments on that video of people, young Earth creationists, saying, and the Big Bang isn't magic. It just made humans out of nothing. It's like, first of all, no. And second of all, no. That's not what anything is. No, and like, that's and also this video has nothing to do with the Big Bang. I'm talking about evolution. They don't know the difference.
If our claims were what they claimed they were, then
I wouldn't believe it either.
It would be ridiculous, because I wouldn't think it was true either. But they just, and it's kind of, God did it, or whatever else they say. It's just, it always avoids actually answering the question, because this thing, you know, we came from a rock. They literally believe that God.
We really believe that.
Yeah, that's actually what the Bible says about the creation of human beings.
Yeah,
it's absolutely bonkers, and I love it.
It is great.
And I'm fine. The more nuts they get, the more interested I'm becoming.
That's, you know, you might just be masochistic. It might not be.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible.
But I feel the same way. That's what my research is on right now. Like I said, I was doing evolution for a long time, and then I went into biomedical sciences for a minute, and now I'm doing molecular biology, and I'm focusing on, like, how do people actually, like, what's going on hormonally in their brains when they are dealing with this stuff. If I take a young Earth creationist and I teach them evolution, and I do it well, and they start to understand it, and they continue to lock down what is actually happening there. So I get it. I'm equally interested for similar reasons, because I want to know, how can I help? How can I be a better educator? And certainly, you know, I know for sure that I have made some headway with some people. But at the end of the day, there has to be something that I can quantify to say, all right, when we talk about it this way, on average, we get these kinds of reactions. And when we talk about it that way, on average, we get these kinds of reactions. And this is a way that I can say, like, from a neuroendocrinological standpoint, this is what is making them feel less fear when they're learning. Right. And that's very interesting to me. It's like, how can I make people not feel attacked by science?
That's interesting, actually, because a lot of biology would be the branch of science that kind of is most involved in evolution as a topic. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's the central theory of biology.
Yeah. So it's when young Earth creationists are trying to sell something to their usually paying audience, they kind of not they sort of have to. Do they have to? I guess what I'm trying to say, did they, the things they say just sound completely made up, or are they asking a question to steer the answer that they think would support them and not you? I know I asked that terribly, Forrest, so I'm hoping you at least understood some of it.
You're saying, so like when a young Earth creationist is talking to their own audience, how much are they curating the information that they put out?
Yeah. Are they sharing the information to guide what they want the answer to be?
I have yet to hear a young Earth creationist say, this is something we don't understand from a biblical framework. I've yet to hear it.
Yeah.
And but that is the bread and butter of science. It's like if I'm coming out and saying, here's some stuff that we don't know about this yet, that yet is very important, but more important is the honesty of saying, I don't know this, and as far as I know, nobody knows this.
Yeah.
And this is my best guess, is my best assumption, is what I'm trying to work on now, but I don't know.
Do you think that's part of what feeds into the fear, though, with young Earth creationists, is the fear of not knowing everything and not being able to accept it?
Yeah, uncertainty.
It's all right not to know everything. That's fine.
Well, that's you. If you don't know everything, then you need somebody who does know everything to tell you what's true. That was Eric Hoven's old thing. And so it's like, I don't know everything, but I know God knows everything, and God knows, and God tells me what's up.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but first of all, if you don't know everything, then you don't know God is real in the first place to tell you that he knows everything.
Yeah.
How can you judge what God is saying if you don't know everything to know anything to blah, 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 whatever. But also, if you're just honest with yourself, it's not scary to say, you don't have to say, I like the fact that I don't know this, but you need to be able to say, hey, I don't know this thing. And so I've yet to hear that from a young Earth creationist. It is always the information that they give out is always so that they can push the narrative that scientists were wrong about a thing.
Yeah.
When I listen to Calvin Smith talk about, like, here's this development in evolutionary biology, it is never, and that's what it is. It is always, it has to be Piltdown Man. It has to be Nebraska Man. It has to be some other hoax or bullshit from the past. It has to be Ernst Haeckel and how he was a racist. It has to be how Darwin got this one thing wrong. It has to be taking some scientist out of context to make it sound like they're saying something they're not saying. One of those things, it is very scripted and very deliberate. Meanwhile, when you actually go and get a science education, the nuance and the weirdness and the confusion and the fuzziness, they're oftentimes the point of the lesson, not a footnote in the lesson.
Because where in the terms of research on I discovered a thing. Really, you kind of, I would imagine that if you made a significant discovery, you obviously you'd want it to be, I found this new thing, it's so cool, it's gonna do X, Y, Z. But there's a possibility every single time you do that your colleagues are just gonna go, no, it doesn't, and this is why. But isn't that the whole point of science? Until in the end, everyone's going, it just works.
Well, even
every time
if you put out a discussion, when you write something, you include a discussion section. And in that discussion section, part of it is to say, like, here are the ways that I could be wrong, especially if you're doing it, if you're like in grad school. Like the last time that I submitted research for a thing, that was a major part of it, was like, hey, here's all the ways that what I just said could mean something else. And I don't think that's the case, and here's why. But here's honestly what it could be. And it's the same thing like when you see people talking about like Darwin, and they're like his whole thing about the eye. Oh, I freely admit that the eye, it seems ridiculous. The next sentence of that is, yet here is how it evolved, and here's what reason tells me. And the point of that entire paragraph is to broach arguments early and say, hey, here's ways that somebody could say I'm incorrect about this, and here's why I don't buy that.
Yeah.
It shows that you're actually thinking about what you're thinking. You're not just saying whatever pops into your empty head and then assuming that it's the gospel. You're actually thinking about it and think, okay, well, how can I be wrong? How can I be mistaken? What could influence me? What are some hidden variables here that I'm not taking into account? Do they matter? And then if you've really thought that out, then you move forward with having that thought and believing that thing.
Yeah, exactly. But imagine somebody like Kent Hovind, because I see irony in the fact that the very science that he has to claim is wrong in every possible way because it describes evolution is itself evolving as a science. So what we know 100% for certain about, I can't think of a topic or anything, in 10, 20 years time, we may have learned a hell of a lot more about that thing and realized, bloody hell, so we thought it was this. Turns out it was that all along. But to me, that's why science is cool. Because, oh my God, a new discovery. This is awesome.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't seem to be able to. And the funny thing is with them as well, right? And I can't figure out if this is a tangent or not yet, or if this is just a really strange old man thought on a Sunday night. But really, if you wanted to kind of prove to somebody who would think objectively and honestly about the existence of God, read the Bible to them, but change his name to Steve.
Yeah.
And then see if you believe that Steve lives somewhere, everywhere on nowhere. He watches everyone on earth and he loves you all, but he'll also kill you when you're 2 years old.
I've started doing.
He thinks it's the right thing to do because it's his plan. Steve sounds.
I've started doing this bit
to me.
All right, I'm not into Steve. I've started doing this bit because I saw. So there's one of my friends from TikTok, Austin Archer. I brought him over to the line to do shows there. And one of the first things we ever did, we had this call where this guy was arguing about evolution, and he kept asking these same basic questions, and I would give long answers, and then he'd be like, "Well, that just doesn't make sense because Jesus and God and the Bible, blah blah blah." And Austin finally, at one point, he lost his temper a little bit, and he was like, "Do you fucking get like what you're actually you have this guy here? Maybe he's wrong, but he is giving you such detailed explanations of everything. He's listing out everything we know. And do you really think that all these scientists across history know all this stuff? And then you're giving us the alternative, which is it was just some guy. Yeah, some guy did it." And it's like, do you not see how that is the actual argument? And I've started repeating that, and it's so much fun. That is the actual argument because they want so badly to frame it as this intellectual debate between like this body of evidence and this body of evidence, but it's really fucking not. It is all of these thousands of people working their asses off using little bits of information to build this beautiful big picture all over the world. And this science that ties together all of biology, all of agriculture, all of medicine, the fossil fuel industry, so much, all of this is tied together in this one massive explanatory theory that makes so much sense. It makes testable predictions. And the alternative is it was just some fucking guy. There's this guy that flying around in space, and he made the world because he can do Space Wizard and he can do shit like that. And and he'll fucking if you have sex wrong, he'll send you to the fire pits. And like this it was just this. Do you really think it's evolution, or do you think it's the magic space guy? Because I think it's the magic space guy. And like when you phrase it that way, it's so fucking clear. By the way, you were talking about the new discoveries and like changing the way people think. I just finished the only reason we were able to do this show at this moment is because I just finished finals. And this semester I was in a molecular genetics class. And so just really crazy detailed shit about genes. And one of the assignments for that was a literature review. We had to read some stuff and come up with write a review of these papers, normal grad school shit. And this is one of the papers that we had. It's called Order of Amino Acid Recruitment into the Genetic Code Resolved by Last Universal Common Ancestors Protein Domains. And so what's so cool about this paper, it's a great title, right? It really flows off the tongue. What's so cool about this paper is that this is flying in the face of what the modern ideas of what the order of amino acid recruitment into the way that life works and builds proteins works, how the genome has worked since the beginning of life for the past 3.8 billion years. And what it's showing here is, hey, remember that Urey Miller experiment? They didn't include sulfur in the experiment, so they didn't have any sulfur-containing amino acids produced. And so we've all just been saying that there were no sulfur-containing amino acids at the beginning, and that's dumb. And here's this new way that we researched it, and we came up with a completely different answer. And this was published last year. And this is a fucking awesome... I had a great time reading this shit. And the point of the class was to do exactly that, was to challenge not just what these folks were saying, but literally the standard, like, mainstream opinion in this part of molecular biology. That is what it's all about, is that you can publish something saying, hey, everybody's fucking wrong, as long as you back it up with, and I'm gonna prove it. And then the whole point of higher education is, let's talk about that and see what's right.
Yeah, it seems though that young Earth creationists, flat earthers are all the same with what they consider to be the most valid type of data or evidence to use, and you'll never see a young Earth creationist reference that paper because it happened this side of the year 1900. It's always. But this research from 1842 by Charles Knobcheese says that, one day a rock stood up and walked. And
if
kind of nonsense.
And if they do cite anything, it'll be a snippet saying this other thing was wrong, and that's it. You know what I mean? And so that's what I get all the time. Like that's what we do on my channel. Whenever Answers in Genesis or whoever, whenever they quote a scientist, the rule is we look up and find that original quote and we read the next sentence. And every single time, the next sentence says something completely different and explains here's why that's not true. Every time.
Quite often it completely changes the context. But that paper you referenced, then I will say I've looked papers up before and actually read the title and gone, there's no point me reading this. I didn't even follow the bloody title. So, I have to find alternative.
Yeah, but that's then what people like Forrest are good for.
Yeah, that's what
for idiots like us to be able to understand.
I do this. I then look to Erica is what happens. So the Erica says it and then I say it and then you get it. That's how it works.
Erica is really, really cool. And I understand. I'm being completely honest about 50% of what she said. Not what she says. I know she speaks English, but she explains it in a way that's a little bit beyond me. But I still enjoy listening to her. Let me just quickly, Dr. Nimrod, you probably need to phone, is it 111 for the NHS helpline? If you can smell popcorn and you're not cooking any, I'm sure that means something.
It's probably fine.
Forrest probably knows. Buy yourself a coffee, Lord Creaky. Got to press the button or put it to your I've got mustache wax. I'm having a bad hair day. What can I say? I was out Christmas shopping today. I'm traumatized. Hey, Creaky, love the content. Just want to say my bad on your video with the great Randy. I was wrong. I knew you were wrong when you said it, but luckily for you that day, I wasn't feeling particularly argumentative.
What was it? I'm very curious.
That I was wrong. And so I said that nobody has ever... It's interesting to me that if anything paranormal exists, that nobody ever claimed the James Randi Foundation's prize for proof of it was just any form of paranormal ability. And this person here said that I was wrong and somebody did claim it, but that it never got paid out, which erring on the side of sarcasm is, so I was right then, they didn't pay it out to anybody. But I didn't even respond to the comment. But I get corrected quite frequently by my viewers. You son of a bitch! Oh, you got to drop that pic of you and Dan in the Discord after. I'll try and find it on my phone and show you on stream because I won't remember, mate. I won't remember. And we've only got 5 minutes to go anyway. And I know Forrest has got to be somewhere that's actually important.
You've got to go and do a real show after this.
Yeah.
I've got another show in a couple of hours, and I'm going to use that time to eat a little bit of food and get a little bit of studying done. Nice. It's going to be exciting. The real high octane shit.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, because I missed it and I just got rid of all the super chats.
Ooh, super
Forrest, do you think, what the hell does that say?
And this is why we need people like Forrest.
Eukaryogenesis.
Eukaryogenesis, yeah.
Of course. I have no idea. See, this builds into my question from the beginning.
The beginning of eukaryotes.
I don't even know what that is.
I just told you. The beginning of eukaryotes.
But yeah, I still. You may as well have said that in Chinese. And I encounter this from time to time. See, something, even when I'm reading the explanation, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just cut that part out of the video. I got no idea what you're on about.
I always use the example. I mean, this was a good few years ago now, but I try to read Neil deGrasse Tyson's Astrophysics for People in a Hurry or whatever it was.
It's a good book.
And I was like 21, 22 at the time. I'm 29 now. And I was reading it and I was like, well, if this is astrophysics for dummies, then I don't know what that makes me, because I can't even follow it. It was so bad.
I will say I tried listening to one of Stephen Hawking's most famous books as an audiobook on the train on the way to London once. I got to Port Talbot and thought, his poor wife.
Yeah.
I hope he's not a chatterbox at home. I couldn't listen to it. I couldn't understand it anyway, and it wasn't because he was Stephen Hawking.
I was going to say, was it Stephen Hawking?
It was
like, was it his
Brief History of Time? That's like the most famous
Brief
one.
History of Time. That was it.
Yeah, that book changed my fucking life, dude.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a science communicator so bad, and that was actually, I think that was the book that really got me into science. Like back in the day, it was awesome.
Yeah, it did something similar for me as well, but in the opposite direction. It made me realize that maybe I don't understand as much about physics as I thought I did. It was tight. It baffles me how a human mind can become that, how your mind needs to work to even be able to form a thought of that type.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's I don't know, just specialization. And to answer the question here, so eukaryogenesis is the beginning of eukaryotic life. So eukaryote, you're a eukaryote, and so am I. As is anything that has a true nucleus and like membrane-bound organelles. So like bacteria and archaea are prokaryotes; they don't have nuclei. We, animals, plants, fungi, protists, those are all eukaryotes. And the beginning of eukaryotes would have been when you started that shit happening a few billion years ago. Probably close to 2, because endosymbiosis of mitochondria and chloroplast was 1.5 billion years ago, and those were eukaryotes that did that. So willing to bet that was something that happened close to 2 billion years ago. Don't quote me, but the question is that a solution for the Fermi paradox? And I don't know what the hell you're asking me there. I don't know how those two things have anything to do with each other. The Fermi paradox is the issue that we don't find any life in space. And so like clearly by what we know about how life got started here on Earth and how quickly it got started here on Earth, clearly it is a thing that can happen. And statistically speaking alone, there should be life every goddamn where. And so the Fermi paradox entirely is just, where are all the aliens? Why aren't we finding life anywhere? Yeah. And so I think what this question is asking is that there's life everywhere. They just haven't become eukaryotes. And so therefore we're not seeing them yet because they're not big enough and they're not doing enough stuff. And that's kind of, that's fine. Because my biggest thing whenever I talk about the Fermi paradox is that it's not just where the aliens, it's that they have to have evolved to a point where they have the ability to make like radio equipment and shit, and then also be doing that, and then also have it turned on, and also listening in the right direction at the right time when our signal gets there, and then care and want to send a signal back, and like then there's a million ifs. So eukaryogenesis, I wouldn't call it the whole solution, but it is definitely part of the solution. If that is indeed what you're asking, I don't know for sure. I am incredibly stupid.
Because isn't the Fermi paradox that thing that there's this imaginary line in the middle of space-time, and if we're ahead of it, we are on our own? Or is it if we're behind it, we are on our own if we're ahead of it?
Oh, yeah, that's like the great filter and all that stuff.
The great filter, that's it. I couldn't remember the term.
Yeah.
The Fermi paradox, that's all the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, they play into each other for sure.
Yeah.
Because like the Great Filter and all that, that's Arthur C. Clarke, I want to say, his big thing when he said there are two possibilities that exist: either we are alone in the universe or we are not, and both are equally terrifying. Great fucking line.
That is.
I think that was his type of thing. I don't know if he's the one who came up with that, but that was definitely like in that same vein.
The Fermi paradox highlight. Yeah. Well, that's the Great Filter. There's a different thing. Well, it's very disappointing. If Arthur C. Clarke used to watch Arthur C. Clarke's World of Mystery in the late 70s, early 80s.
In the olden times.
In the olden times when we still only had 3 channels on the TV.
Yeah.
I thought it was Carl Sagan as well, Storm Shadow, but I would never dare try and correct an actual scientist. See, flat earthers, that's how you do it. You respect the fact that a scientist.
I just work at science.
Yeah.
So here's this. I just was digging just for a second. I found this: the origin of eukaryotes and the rising complexity, and it's talking about oxygen, but it has this line here: fossil and biomarker records of sparse molecular clocks that thus not reached consensus, with dates spanning between 2.1 to 0.91 billion years ago. So we're talking about like the actual origin of eukaryotes. Look, it's right around the time I was talking about, somewhere close to 2 billion years in that vague area, but we don't know. Apparently, we still don't know. This was published in 2023, so at least 2 years ago, we still didn't know, or these folks didn't know.
So it's at minimum 1,000 years out of date. So we've got no fear of young Earth creationists trying to use any of that information.
Right. They're never going to care. They're never going to read that shit.
Forrest, thank you very, very much indeed. It's been an awesome conversation again. I love chatting to smart people.
I'll have to find you one day. I love hanging out with you, dude. It's been a lot of fun. It was great the first time. It's great this time. Let me know if you want to do it again.
Absolutely, 100%. I just remembered something though. The last thing I'll say, then I promise I will shut up and leave you go. You were talking to somebody on the line. He was obviously he was a creationist of sorts, and you and I think it was you and Erica were on there together. Would that have been the line, or would that have been a different show? But this guy
we also on the line,
and you and Erica were trying to explain to him the simplest of simple concepts, and you were trying to get him to say, yes, okay, I'm a human being, therefore I am an animal. And that I think is my favorite episode of the line, or that's my favorite core. I shouldn't say episode, because I'm not going to lie and say I watched full episodes. I watched the clips, but that's my favorite clip that I've ever seen you respond to, because you looked so disgusted. Honestly, you really looked bothered, and everything, and you were eliminating things. You were removing his objections in stages until really the only thing he could say is, yeah, okay, we're animals. But he just wouldn't say it, and your face was brilliant.
I don't even remember that episode, and it's because I do it too fucking much. But that sounds like something I would do. So like, it's if I find that, then I'll repost it somewhere else as well. Maybe try digging for that here.
Yeah, but he was basically trying to say that no, human beings aren't animals. Animals are animals. Human beings are human beings.
I mean, he's not wrong, but also he's wrong.
That's the thing. Dude. I get why you would say that. You know, a dog is an animal, a cat is an animal, a cow is an animal. I'm a human. I'm a man. I'm a grown adult. But so I can get. Yeah, I get why you'd say it, but you're still an animal. Just because you don't walk on all fours and eat your own shit, it doesn't mean you're not an animal.
We've all had a Friday night, all right. Even then. That's one thing, like being on TikTok, everybody has a podcast on TikTok, and scrolling through TikTok podcasts has never made me want to be on a podcast more than anything else in my entire life. Because there's this video that was going viral of these dudes, and they're like, what's your favorite, what animal do you think you could take in a fight? And the guy's like, I don't know, it's probably some sort of fish. He's like, no, I mean like an animal. He's like, yeah,
I've
fish.
seen that,
He's
yeah.
like, no, an animal.
I've seen
He's
that.
like, fish. What do you want? And they get this whole art, and basically what he meant by the only thing he knows is an animal is like small mammals.
Yeah.
It's just, that's
I have to admit, I'd lose in a fight to a fish. Fish are my kryptonite.
They are.
I'm absolutely terrified of it, but only fish that are out of the water. They're fine when they're swimming around in the sea or in a tank, but I've got it's called something as well that I can't remember. It's called being
like
a pussy.
ichthyophobia or something.
Yeah, something like. But I am completely. I can't walk down the fish aisle in the supermarket because the fish might jump off and attack me or start flapping.
Well, now you know how to defeat him, everybody.
Yeah.
If you ever find Creaky in public,
Yeah,
you know how to win the fight.
yeah.
Take control of his channel. Become the next
Smacking
Creaky
fish.
Blinder. The cycle continues.
Just wave a fish in my face. Not that I would have needed a reason to not
Hell
talk,
yeah.
because I find it so uncomfortable anyway. You must get recognized a lot, Forrest.
You know what? Not as I get recognized when I'm traveling. I get recognized. I got recognized in Borneo. I got recognized in Ecuador. I got recognized on top of a mountain in Colorado. I get recognized in shit here in Oklahoma. Rare event. It's not exactly science and atheism aren't exactly popular things here.
But that's a good point. Yeah, Oklahoma. I would imagine you don't have what's like a polite way, like a large fan base in Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah.
We're being raided by people from Beardo's stream.
Oh my glob.
Right, I've got to shut up now and let Forrest go. But
Yeah, good time for the raid. Idiots.
The coolest place I ever got recognized, Forrest, was Taco Bell on Times Square, having a pee. I got recognized with my knob in my hand.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing ever by a really nice guy. Never been recognized.
Great. If he had some snow, you could have done an autograph right there.
Yeah, he could have. There's snow in New Jersey today.
Oh, is it?
There you go.
Looks like a postcard. Anyway, Forrest, I'm just gonna say I feel bad finishing now because everybody's arriving, but it's 5 past. I'm usually in bed by now. Literally. I stay up late on a Sunday so I can finish my show.
That's great. That's great. Anyway. Well, thank you for having me. It was a ton of fun. It was awesome meeting you, Callum. I appreciate you guys hanging out.
Too. I've been very excited for this.
I hope I said that right. It's Callum, right?
Yeah, that is right. Yeah.
I don't speak whatever Welsh your father is. I don't think he actually talks that way. I think he's just fucking with us. I think that's just it's not an act.
I went full. I did an ad read in a video last week, and I wore my cowboy hat and did my best cowboy example. But by the time I got 30 seconds into the ad read, I just sounded like I was doing a racist Pakistani impression. And then people were saying things like, "Why have you suddenly become like a cowboy?" So I don't know. Accents are hard. I haven't even got my own.
I can try accents, but unless someone asks me to, the second I'm on the spot, my brain falls apart. I can't do it.
It's the pressure. It's the pressure of being
too much
expected to perform. Anyway, thank you, pal. Give me 2 seconds to say goodbye to everybody, and I will bid you a proper farewell off stream.
Sounds good.
Thank you to everybody who super chatted. Thank you to everybody who became a channel member or gifted a channel membership. Most of all, thank you to Forrest for agreeing to come on and waste 2 hours of his life that he's never getting back, speaking to an idiot like me. And I will see you. I can't remember which week it is. It'll either be tomorrow night or Tuesday night, or maybe I'm going to just go back to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't know. Nobody cares. Love you. Bye.
Thank you all for watching Creaky Live. Don't forget to follow me on all of your social media platforms. Have a good day and have a creaky week.